Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We will be talking about relevance of Sufism and Bhakti movement in modern times. In the polarized world of today, where mankind seems to be drifting towards violence and chaos, disaster and misfortune seem inevitable. Mankind is divided on the lines of race, color, faith, sex, language, caste, creed, and many other differences within or outside of human control. Hatred, fanaticism, and intolerance are the order of the day, with the future looking bleak. Uncertainty grips the common man. Intellectuals and men of learning are filled with disillusionment and doubt, rendering them inactive and indecisive. This state of affairs has created a sense of despair and cynicism among the masses. Humane people are those who believe in tolerance, love, and the well being of all humanity. Give it whatever name you like, Sufism, mysticism. They all appreciate diversity in man and teach us to accept that all people of the world cannot be the same. All cannot follow the same customs or religions, that despite our diversity, God has made each in his image. What is my belief should not be considered inferior by others. It should not be mocked at by others if they do not understand it. This is the call of the Sufi. It is the Sufis who believe that what you do not like for your own self, do not like it for others. And what you wish for yourself, also wish for others. There is a mystical streak in all religions which defines the spirit of the quest and a one-to-one relation with the Creator. Kabbalah is mystical movement in Judaism, that is the Jews. Sufism is the mystical movement of Islam. And what Sufi wishes to achieve is irfan. Sufism is the mystical movement of Islam. Gnosticism is related to the mystic sects of Christianity and Vedanta, that of Hinduism. In Hinduism, the highest reach of man is in the form of samadhi, which is a union with God. Mysticism is the pursuit of communion with or conscious awareness of ultimate reality, the divine spiritual truth or God, through direct experience, intuition, and insight. This state of oneness with reality is called irfan in Islam, nirvana in Buddhism, moksha in Jainism, samadhi in Hinduism, and salvation in Christianity. Most of the interpretations of Sufism agree that it is the esoteric school of Islam founded on the pursuit of spiritual truth as a definite goal to attain. As Sufi takes up the inner journey to attain the knowledge of self, a knowledge that leads towards an understanding of the divine. Man arafa nafsahu arafa rabbahu. The one who understands himself understands God. When Sufism first came to the Indian subcontinent, it changed significantly due to local influences, especially in its metaphysical aspect. The Indian version of mysticism, the amalgamation of Sufism and the thought of Vedanta, that is, philosophy of the Vedas, is known as Bhakti. The term Bhakti, which literally means devotion, humility, and seeking grace from God, also makes room for metaphysical quest or rational endeavor to know oneself besides the Supreme Self and to get merged ultimately in Him. Like you see, a raindrop falls into the ocean and merges with it. Bhakti and Sufi movement significance of the day. History is not the sum of past. History is not a sort of fashion. History is a kind of unfolding of a pattern. History is unfolding of divine will. In God's will, everything past, present, and future is integrated into one single whole. It is the internal mutation within a unity, very long term, very durable, which is very effective. This may be called the dialectical process of change, but then this is a silent process. Thus, we witness this kind of a process taking place within the folds of religion. It is a silent kind of change in which you look at history not in terms of adversarial conflicts or catastrophic collusion alone, but you also look at history in terms of internal movement, silent, almost imperceptible, and long term, but nonetheless very effective. That is what the Bhakti and the Sufi movements tell us. It is this ideology of universality of love, universality of feeling, universality of God rather than the sectarian nature of God. It is this ideology of Bhakti and Sufi movement which preserved social peace even as the state was embroiled in the struggle of life and death between various adversaries. Therefore, this discourse of religiosity which accepts difference of religion, yet it also accepts that God is common to all. Now we come on to Kabir Das, a pioneer of social harmony and upliftment. He lived in the 15th century. Now, Kabir was a 15th century mystic from a Muslim background who was equally loved or disowned by both the Muslims and the Hindus. He believed that the only one who is liberated can facilitate another to get liberated. Personal life of Kabir had a considerable inbuilt spiritual capacity for awakening reformation in social life as well as spiritual transformation in personal lives. Religion is intended to unite human beings, but nothing else has divided the human societies as appallingly as religion. The worst of the wars and tensions in the world have taken place in the name of religion. The pages of the world history go thus. No doubt it has facilitated the humans in the search for the divine, but the institutionalized details of the religious systems have at times impeded development also. Simplicity of religion. Kabir understood religion in a very simple manner. His spiritual insights were natural. They were accessible to all. They were appealing to the downtrodden and alienated ones. The texture of religion suggested by him included such simple threads like remembering the higher path, entertaining sentiments of faith in that path, singing bhajan or praises to that path, engaging in satsang, which means good company, or in acquaintances which are conducive to a divine atmosphere, being of service to the others, etc. These attempts at self realization were coupled with values of social behavior too. The practice of religion was made simple for the common folk. Spiritual experience was brought within the easy reach of the general public. This form of religion, which was lived and highlighted by Kabir, goes beyond the barriers of caste, creed, traditions, community, ideology, and sect. His teachings are also incorporated in Guru Granth, which is the sacred book of the Sikhs, Guru Nath, I think. The spiritual practice of religion was made simple for the common folk. Spiritual experience was brought within the easy Guru Granth, sorry, I was not remembering the name, Guru Granth of the Sikhs. So spiritual experience was brought within the easy reach of the general public. This form of religion, which was lived by Kabir and highlighted by Kabir, goes beyond the barriers of caste, creed, traditions, community, ideology, and sect. This is an approach of religion which incorporates all faith positions and perspectives of life in some fashion or other. It is like a word religion for the humanity which could easily be accepted. This understanding of religion, which is universal as well as simple, is capable of liberating the humans from the clutches of the prevailing system of religion, which is both complicated and degenerated. Kabir believed in the reconstruction of spiritual experience for social harmony. For him, God is a matter of personal experience, as love is. One has to know him for oneself. Kabir proceeds to a mystical experience and tells the Lord, pondering you again and again, I became you. Now there is nothing left in me. Ranja Ranja kar de, main ape ranjan hu. His experience of the divine reaches an exquisite culmination when he says, I am so full of your presence. Wherever I look, you are seen. The deeper the experience, the richer it is. Pearls are not found at the shore, but at deep sea. The personal experience of the mystic saints like Kabir goes to the point of ecstatic communion and is often expressed in striking analogy between drop and sea, wife and husband, fish and water, bird and air, peacock and mountain, chakor and moonbeams, waves and sea, etc. Without personal experience of the ultimate reality, religious practices wouldn't produce the intended result for the societal life. Purity of heart. Purity of heart makes one eligible for attempting an experience of God, since the divine is pure. Only a pure state of mind can assure an encounter with Him. Purity of heart would mean simplicity. That is why Kabir says one is capable of meeting the ultimate reality only when the mind clears its crookedness off. Kabir stresses transparency, which is synonymous to purity of heart. Purity of heart is holiness and is the starting point of spirituality. This aspect of the inner religion certainly facilitates a social behavior which is acceptable to one another in the day to day life. The spiritual consciousness of Kabir that the human heart is the temple of the divine has far reaching implications for a harmonious social life. Like lotus, which remains in dirty conditions but produces immaculate flowers, Kabir rose to such spiritual height in life that his very life became a living symbol of social resurrection. Then integrity. Kabir asks, what is the use of that speech which does not correspond to action? According to him, theory is empty, practice is the essence of life. To give advice to others is easy, but to translate the same into action is very difficult. And he says, many are those who say things, but few are those who do accordingly. He appropriates a satirical approach to those who preach without practicing. You, you haven't got water with you, but you pretend to distribute milk to others. Your own mind is not at peace and you seem to be enthusiastic in consoling others. This argument has another dimension. When one is not pure in mind and heart, how can one advise others? The basic predicament of spiritual attainment is that doing is difficult and saying is easy. Without living the life of simplicity and purity oneself, the divine cannot be attained. Generations have gone by perusing large volumes of books and no one has ever become learned. The one who learns the single word of love only will really become learned. To him, the verbal expression becomes futile if it does not correspond to what it implies. The ideal word is one which is accompanied by the corresponding behavior. Only this merits the divine approval. This, as it is given in the Quran, why do you, O believers, why do you say something which you do not act upon? Only this merits the divine approval. One who does not translate the word into practice is like a foolish man who builds his house on shaky ground. Faith without action is dead. What is the use of seeing one's face in the mirror if one does not want to improve his look? One's relation to the divine is a theoretical experience which is not worthwhile without the practical expression of good relations with the human beings and nature. Loving God is theory and loving one another is practice. Spirituality has both individual and social dimensions. The social side of one's spirituality can in no way be underrated. Now, divided heart. Kabir advances his argument by his perception that disagreement between theory and practice would mean having a divided heart. One has to be single minded. Coordination between word and deed, as well as thought and action, is the sign of an undivided mind, and that is human integrity. As the words interpret the action, so the action bears witness to the words. The conflict between theory and practice proves one state of being disorganized in life which is to be regretted. Besides, word and deed are complementary to each other. Kabir highlights coordination between theory and practice as a radical social message relevant of the social order of world today. Kabir presents an awareness of the common roots which elicits a sense of common belonging. By going deeper into the experience of the divine, one comes to the realization that all beings essentially belong to the same divine. The supreme truth is that all beings are of the same God. All human beings are the creatures of the same God. All are members of the same family of God, the same family of humanity. All have the right to live. Differences are just superficial and often superimposed. The places of worship of the diverse religious traditions represent the same higher power that knows neither temple nor masjid. Kabir highlights the religion of good social conduct as dharma. Good behavior towards one another is that which makes a real human society. Becoming a good human being is the most meritorious achievement in life, and that is what मिर्जा गालिब says, बस के मुश्किल है हर एक काम का आसा होना आदमी को मुयस्सर नहीं इंसान होना. That is the most difficult task for a person is to become a true human being. Kabir also raised objection about the religious traditions. The human society has accumulated a lot of junk in the name of tradition. Much of it is just a burden, a futile heavyweight for the human beings. There is a dire as well as a continuous need to examine, discern, and discard what is outdated and irrelevant. Kabir gives a categorical exhortation: accept the substantial and reject the insubstantial. The primary things are to be tended first in comparison to the secondary things. The inner element has to get priority in relation to the outer. Quality should gain the first importance. The quench for perfection is life's greatest adventure. This divine characteristic of perfection can be imbibed only by an honest commitment to quality in life. Integration of values is to be searched for in the quality of harmony. One maintains a relationship with the divine and with other human beings. The unseen is reflected in the seen. Creatures are the images of the one same creator. The divine is to be encountered in the human, and the natural commitment to the creator is to be expressed towards commitment to the creatures. Thank you very much. God bless you.